I get this mind speak thing. He says, I'm the protector of the forest. And I'm nervous right now, this
Mhm.
happening about the same time that I was trying to tell Mike I saw something that's 10 to 13 foot tall, had to weigh at least 800 pounds.
All right, Bigfoot Society, we've got the privilege of talking to Jodi and Michael today. It's going to be primarily Jodi, but you may hear Michael off to the side every once in a while, which is great. But welcome to the show, guys. How's it going?
Thank you. It's going okay.
Oh, we're doing great. We're at a beautiful haunted church here in Illinois, away from our East Tennessee home.
Yeah, we didn't want to really do it at home, anyways.
Absolutely. Uh, a little background info. You may recognize Michael's voice from a few episodes ago. We had a great chat about the Tennessee Cryptid Campout. Both Jodi and Michael were there in attendance along with myself, so we were able to meet there and had a great time. And if you haven't listened to Michael's episode yet, I'll make sure to have it linked so that you can get all the info about the Tennessee Cryptid Campout. And slowly having people on the show to talk about that. I just talked to Adam from the Half Inch Wrench crew. We had a good chat about that as well. But uh, when I met, was able to spend a little bit of time talking to Jodi and Michael, and they had told me about some interesting experiences they've had over the years. And as I said in Michael's episode, we were like, well, maybe we could get something recorded during the week, but it was so blazing hot, and we were both like, this is not the right time to do it. So we'll set something up later. And here we are, and you guys are in a haunted church, so there you go, extra
Yes.
bonus points. Did you know it was an extra? Did you know it was a haunted church when you went in there, or you
No,
found out?
no.
No, we are actually the first people apparently in this Airbnb,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
we had a lot of activity last night that was inside and
Yeah.
multiple sounds. So it's something's going on.
Yeah. It was like
okay.
someone slammed a book on the floor, and my son said, it's probably a Bible.
Yikes! That can always be some. I mean, you got beautiful stained glass behind you, so that's a plus. But
Yes.
hopefully, you will be able to get out of there and not have any things happen to you or follow you back to East Tennessee.
Oh yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah. It's
But
pretty
hey,
far. So,
there you go.
yeah.
It's a little bit of a
So,
trip. But guys, I've been waiting definitely to talk to Jodi, and I'm glad Michael is here as well. It is something where I wish that I could have a conversation like this ever since there was a major event that happened. I'm like, there's got to be some people out there that have had stuff happen, and I know
yeah.
someday I will talk to them. So here we go. Well, Jodi, feel free to take us back. I don't know how far back we need to go, but I know that we are going to be talking about things that have happened on your property over the years.
Yeah. We've only been there. It'll be 4 years in August. And the hurricane happened. It'll be 2 years in September. But we had things happen before that. Actually, I did. And it just put me in awe because I never knew anything about Bigfoot, not even that Bigfoot is a thing um and I was raised here in Illinois. And but then once this happening, I remember things from my when I was a kid and stuff that happened that um has just come up lately. But anyways, the first thing, we bought the house in August on his birthday of 22.
22.
Yeah. And we were sitting out on the porch, and which it has three porches, and it's really nice. We're right by the Cherokee forest, and we're there's 10,000 acres of watershed behind us. at Rocky Fork State Park, and we were just sitting out there enjoying ourselves, and we were talking, and it's like, do you hear anyone talking? I was asking Mike, and I was and it seemed like it was a male and a female.
We have a branch right in front of the
yard,
house,
yeah.
so you hear the babbling brook effect, and sometimes it sounds like voices, sometimes it sounds like music, but
Yeah.
we would hear it almost over the sound of the branch.
Yeah, and it's like singing, and I was talking to my sister. I'm like, we have a babbling brook, you know, and she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, we're hearing like talking, a female and a male, and sometimes we're just hearing the creek, and like it just remind me of a babbling brook, and I don't even know what that is, but that came to my mind, a babbling brook. So, anyways, and then about maybe within a month or so, I was on the porch and I was facing the other porch, and Mike was sitting towards the yard and the creek. And I just, something got my attention. I looked over and I saw a big head of a dog. And it had locks of hair on the side and it had like a mane and came down and had black, and he kind of cocked his head like this, and he had black lips and a black nose with some pink in it and a short snout like a Rottweiler. I used to have a Rottweiler, and it was about like that long of a snout, as short. And I was just looking, and the hair looked like teardrops, like the fat part of the teardrop, and all around. I didn't see any ears or anything. And I saw it and I looked away to tell Mike, and I looked back and it was still there. And then I was getting ready to tell Mike, I don't know what that was. I just saw something. And but the head was about the size of, with the mane and everything, was about the size of, like a little kid's beach ball.
Sure.
And so I just forgot about that. Well, not really forgot about it, but
You said for about 6 months afterward, you questioned yourself whether you even
Yeah.
really saw that.
yeah,
It was so sudden.
and I could see its eyes. It had really shaped eyes like a fish almost. They went like this, and then a line under. I drew it for Kenny that was at the camp out,
Hmm.
what the eyes looked like, and they were yellow and kind of some orange in them, and like lines of orange in them, and huge eyes, like at least a silver dollar.
Oh
And
my
I'm
goodness.
just like, whoa, you know. And then I kept trying to draw it, and I was asking my son to draw it because he's an artist, and he just never got around to it, and I just let it go. But then December 29th of 22, still, um, that's when we bought the house, right? 22?
Yes.
Okay. December 29th of 22, I came up, we live in a cabin, and I came up from the bedroom to the kitchen, and I was sitting there, and I asked Mike, I go, man, seems like today is really going slow, and I can't believe I'm eating around noon. And he goes, it's like 20 till 2. And I was like, oh, wow, it really is going slow for me. And then I was sitting there eating lunch and looked up out the window. We got windows all in the front of the house in the kitchen, and they're up high. I look across I was just looking, and there's a ridge that's outside our house, pretty far, and not real far if you just went straight across. But anyways, um, I was sitting there and I seen a great big Bigfoot. Never seen Bigfoot in my life, and didn't know anything about Bigfoot or any of the stuff. And he was like blonde and red mixed, and he was walking across the ridge, and it seemed like he was looking at me, and he had a face of a uh, like an Indian, but the skin was light. It was like a tannish color. And then Mike comes in the kitchen.
yeah.
And he's talking, and he's over to the right of me, and I'm trying to get the words out because I was in awe. And it was huge.
Yeah.
I would say it's at least 10 foot tall.
Oh,
or bigger.
I'll tell him about the size.
Okay, you tell
Oh,
him.
and that,
Okay.
and you said he was striding like he
Real
just
confident.
he didn't care.
Yeah.
He was just striding right across, looking at you like he didn't care that
Yeah.
you saw him, and or if
He
anybody
wanted me. He
saw.
could see me. He could see me, and I could see
Yeah.
him.
I think bigger than 10 feet because a little while after that there was a storm and they were up working on the power lines, and we were watching the guys, and I saw this little orange speck, and I thought, oh, is that did they leave a cooler up there, or is that a gas can?
I go, is that
It-
people?
It was somebody in an orange vest, and you could barely see it.
Yeah. And
So-
I'm saying,
So to clearly see a squatch, you at time you said 12
yeah,
to
I
14
I
feet.
said 10 to 13.
Yes.
I wasn't sure because Mike's almost
Yeah.
7 foot.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, tall guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that since I couldn't make out a person on the hill, to clearly see a squatch, he had to be huge.
Go lay down.
Okay.
And
That's wild. Oh my goodness.
as he's walking, and Mike comes around and is standing in front of me, and I yell, Bob. And I don't even know a Bob or anything. And Mike just looks at me weird, like, what's this all about? And I said, that's what his name is, I guess. And I tried to tell him that I just saw, I think it's a Bigfoot. And, but I yell out, Bob. It wasn't just like Bob. It was Bob like that. And then I get this mind speak thing beside Bob. And he makes me say it. And he says, I'm the protector of the forest. And I'm just really, I'm nervous right now, this
Mhm.
happening
You're doing great.
at the time. But anyway,
Jodi, real quick, in a few questions
Okay.
before we continue. So you said Bob, and then how soon afterwards was it that you heard that in your mind?
Oh, not long.
Okay.
About the same time that I was trying to tell Mike, I saw something that was 10 to 13 foot tall, had to weigh at least 800 pounds, and I think it's a Bigfoot. Never have I said Bigfoot in my life,
Okay, gotcha. And
but it's like he conversated that he's so confident and everything that was happening.
so you've got that going on, and then the face that you saw earlier in that first story, what do
Yeah.
you think that was?
Well, now I really think that there's not much difference between a dog man or a squatch. Only that the squatch didn't have fur on its face.
Yeah.
And the dog thing did, and it had a short snout, and right where the nose meets the face, it had like a brown, or it was kind of a blondish red with a pink and black nose, and then right where the nose starts to come out, it was like brown right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
You compared the mane to a lion.
Oh yeah.
That's why I wanted to see the picture from the camp out that had the mane around it. So I'm thinking, is that the
I
same thing
know.
you saw?
Yeah.
And
Which
so-
I've been thinking about that while she's been describing that. I'm like, man, that is weird because what you see in that picture, it looks like a lion's mane, and
And
I'm still weirded out. Yeah.
That was your
That's
exact.
before I knew anything about Dogman or anything. I just saw it. And our porch is at least 8 foot tall off the ground, and it just had its head sitting on the porch on the side of where the steps come up. It wasn't, our porch isn't low. It's up a hill, and there's a stream that's going underneath our steps, like a spring.
Mhm.
And it just had its head up there, and it had its head kind of cocked and had a mischievous smile like on his face, and
Okay.
just real thick black lips and a black nose, but there was pink like around up here by the where the nose starts, and then there was brown right here where the eyes and the snow starts.
Do you have any close by neighbors, or are you guys kind of far out there?
Yeah,
Yeah, we have neighbors right across the street.
a road.
Oh,
It's a road.
and we have to say the strange thing. I would
Yeah.
I would kind of
Okay.
like to know if anyone has ever seen this. Um, it was till that first December when we moved in.
29th, yeah.
Uh, they went out, the whole family. Now they're kind of standoffish, so we don't have a lot to do with them,
Yeah.
to say the least. But we watched them early on. It was in December. The whole family went out with a case of Mountain Dew Voodoo. It was a full case. It's not like it was an empty case. They went across to the next neighbor's property, who's not there very often, but they treat it like it's their property.
Yeah.
Mhm.
At the edge of the line going up the hill and the trees, they put out 10 Mountain Dews in a circle and two sitting on top.
And the whole family bent
The whole
down there.
the whole family put them out.
Yeah. And we were just like, wow.
The
What?
way she was carrying it was a full case.
Yeah, it wasn't even open yet.
Now we went back down south because we weren't fully moved in yet. When we came back, it had snowed. We saw a reflection up on the hill. We went up, and there was a one Mountain Dew up there. One side was pushed in, like if you took your thumb and pushed it in, and the other side had 3 or 4 holes in it,
Yeah.
almost like nails were punched in.
To drink it. It was
Not
not open.
it wasn't opened, but it was. They were spread out. Some of them were pretty far up the hill and spread out. We didn't see when it happened because we were gone in the snow. But
Yeah.
the one was like if you took your hand and punched it in,
Slowly, that whole 12 pack.
and 3 or 4 claws or sharp nails had punched holes in it. Now, I
Okay.
don't think a raccoon would drag it up the hill.
No.
So I was just, and we heard they were from Virginia. So he said, well, I've heard about Mountain Dew and Mothman, but I've never
Yeah,
heard
sure.
of Mountain Dew for squash. And the way they put it in a circle, it was almost like an offering. And I was still kind of skeptical at the time. And that came to my mind. It's like they were putting that out for something.
Yeah. Oh man, that makes me wonder. I'm sure there's, and I know you said you don't really, you're not super close, but I'm sure there's other stories besides the ones that you
Yeah.
have
Oh, yeah.
in this area. But
Yeah.
Jodi, I want to make sure that we get back on the trail a little bit. So after you have this experience where you had this visual of one up on the ridge, and then
Yeah.
you had that mind speak experience, some might even call it telepathy. How did things start to change for you guys after
Oh,
that?
wow.
Um, I can tell my part.
Okay.
Other than her visuals, which is you have to sort of go, okay, I believe
Yeah.
you say you don't have an
I just
imagination.
didn't
I
think
believe it.
anyone believed me
Yeah.
that I
Um.
saw this stuff.
Uh.
Even him, I
Yeah.
didn't think. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is nonsense.
We took care of my dad for the last 6 weeks of his life,
Yeah.
and that was right after we moved in May of 23. Well, at one point, I solo hiked up to spread his ashes at a trail shelter, and as I'm packing up, getting ready to go, a tree gets pushed. As I'm leaving, walking out, 10 minutes later, another tree gets pushed, and I was like her.
It
I
falls.
I know about the topic, but I would say, oh, trees just fall. But I later came to realize the roots cracked. It was a push.
Mm.
I've heard. I heard a couple of yelp later in the spring. I heard a couple of whoops. Something trying to imitate a mourning dove.
He hikes a lot.
Yeah.
He hikes at least
And
every week.
I-
Maybe a
I-
couple times
yeah.
a week.
I've heard those whoops twice in 4 years.
I
So-
won't even go in the
Yeah.
woods anymore.
So at that point, it was pretty obvious that something was pushing trees and making whoops that didn't make any sense. So at that point, I was fully on board that something strange is there.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's been a lot more. Our neighbors and the other set of neighbors told us about they have Bigfoot activity and they live behind us, catty cornered, like 2 acres over. And they also have a cabin behind us, about maybe an acre back over the top of our ridge. There's a cabin back there, and we went over there to they take care of their grandbabies, and they've done this several times in their life with their kids and stuff, and they're full-time parents and they're our age. And we went over there one day to take something. I think it was one of their birthdays or something, and we went over there and we saw that there was a car parked in the driveway that on the plate said Mothman. And we were just joking around, and it was their daughter. And she's like, "Oh yeah," didn't go into detail or anything. We went in the house, and somehow the subject came up besides Mothman, and I told them that I'd seen a Bigfoot out here. Had they had anything happen like that? And they told us, yeah, that they saw one, the shadow of one that was like 15 to 16 foot tall, going to work at 4:30 in the morning off the ridge, the same ridge and the curve where I saw mine. And they also told us that they've had a Bigfoot bring in one of the baby Bigfoots while they were in bed and put the baby in the bed with them.
Okay.
Hmm.
Really?
Yeah, and the parents, our friends, sleep in different beds because they both have a grandchild that they sleep with. They're country, okay? And they brought the baby Bigfoot into the bedroom, and he was holding it, coddling it, and talking to it, I'm sure he was in amazement, whatever was going on. And um, he tells us that and stuff. And then she said, "Yeah, I hear him in there talking." And I was like, "Who's talking? Who's he talking to?" and stuff. And then the baby Bigfoot went in that other bedroom and crawled up the bottom of the bed under the covers and was laying behind her. And they're telling me this, and I'm just like, this is pretty wild. Um, Especially when I knew nothing about Bigfoot. And then the other day they said we were going to town, and she was sweet eating, and she said, "Yeah, my husband swears that they're keeping him up at night." And I'd been up for like 3 days and 3 nights. So it's like 30 some hours. I couldn't go to sleep because all the activity. She said, he swears that they are keeping him up on purpose. And I'd been going through that for at least 36 hours. I hadn't been asleep,
Which,
which they do all kinds of stuff.
yeah, which I think brings us to Helene.
Yeah, it brings us to
Yeah.
Helene.
Oh, I think about the last thing that happened, other than a few sightings, is we had a house slap that woke me up from a sound sleep,
And I was
Okay.
and
afraid.
my vision was shaking. It's not a cabin, but it's a two bedroom,
1 bedroom.
1 bedroom house. Yeah, 2 room house. But it was still hard enough. Right behind us. I went and looked, and there is a crack in the siding, and it's literally right in the middle of our bed.
Yeah, where our heads are. We had that
Yeah.
happen. Mike said, "Oh, it's probably a log or something." And I was like, "Okay." And then he goes out and checks the next day, and because he was still a skeptic. I
Gotcha.
feel.
Before you get into Helene, can you share when you were saying you were being kept up for like 36 hours by things they were doing? What kind of things were they doing to keep you up for 3 days?
Wow.
Or
Running
a day
across
and a
the
half?
roof, running across the roof.
Uh,
Oh, they make this metal sound that sounds like sheet metal. And they jump out of trees or off of stuff, and you can hear them land
mhm.
on the ground. You can
Yeah.
hear it.
Yeah. Uh,
They run around.
our house doesn't creak. It'll go 3 or 4 nights. Sometimes we won't hear it.
Of anything.
You'll hear right on the side. You describe it as something leaning up against the siding.
Mhm.
It's a distinct creak,
Yeah.
Okay.
and it's not a natural creak that we
And
didn't
your
hear.
house is up high.
Yes.
And these have to. And also, I saw a juvenile the other day, right before the camp out. I was doing dishes and seen but anyways, I saw a juvenile standing there's like hills that go up to the ridges. And it was standing by the tree. Brought all this is in the daylight.
Man,
Everything I've seen is all but what just happened Friday. It was 3:30 in the morning when that happened, and so I believe it was a female. But we'll go to Helene. We're kind of doing
absolutely.
this in chronological order,
Yep.
but there's just so much that happened. That's why I said I need to write this stuff down.
Mhm.
Yeah. So feel free to go right ahead. And so maybe there's going to be listeners that don't have the context of what Helene is. Maybe they're in different countries or it's in the future and they just don't know. Could you share a bit of context of when you're talking about Helene, what that
Okay.
situation was as well?
Hurricane Helene. It started on a Thursday. We were leaving to go to concert, and it was raining. And we kind of knew about it, but by the time we got to Wilmington, North Carolina, they canceled
Yeah,
our concert.
yeah. We,
And if we would have known that, we would have went back home, but we would have been trapped at home.
yeah, we thought it was just going to be a tropical storm because we're here so far inland.
Yeah.
That-
And it was 39 foot of water. And uh it took out hospitals, homes at one intersection of the river. I mean, the river has just changed. It's the Nolichucky, which means river of death. It changed the flow of the river, and I think it changed more than that. There's just that we didn't even have roads to really go anywhere for a year. So I mean, we could get to town, and when we came back from that trip to the concert, we couldn't get home for 5 days because they had to make a makeshift road so we could get home. And once we got home, we had no power for over 2 weeks, and washed our driveway out, and it did some damage to our house. But
with the wind, but we're up high enough
yeah,
where we didn't have water damage.
yeah, we didn't have water
Thankfully.
damage.
Wow.
But it is at one section of the river close to us
Yes.
had like
And-
250 some vehicles in the river.
And there are the east facing hillsides are just almost devoid of trees.
Yeah,
I have pictures where they're just piled 20, 30 feet high after they cleared them.
yeah,
And it was just devastation over the whole watershed.
yeah. It was people couldn't leave their homes if they didn't float. We just saw houses going down the river and stuff like that. And we're only like 6 miles from the river, and we still got it washed our driveway out. It did do that, and it moved rocks that was in the creek. It moved them wherever it wanted to move them to. But anyways, it was really devastating, and we're still trying to. They just finally got the hospital tore down. It was
Wow.
underwater, and people lost their homes and animals, and some people lost property. I mean, they might have had 10 acres and half
Yeah.
of it's gone.
Half of it's gone.
It's
People
water.
literally lost their whole
Yeah.
place to build a house.
Mm-hmm. But that's what happened. And then we got home, and
Yeah.
more stuff has happened since Helene.
Yeah. And that was September of 24.
Yeah.
September
Yeah, it'd
25th.
be 2 years.
Yeah.
September. The
September
end
24th.
yeah, it was September 26th or the 28th when the hurricane came.
So it's man, and I live up in Iowa, and just to watch all that happen, it was a horrifying event, and I cannot imagine living through something like that. And there's so much lost, um, and it is a slow rebuilding process.
Yes.
Yeah.
But thankfully, it is happening. Now you're saying that so you're back in your home and you're having to deal with everything is different. There's no power. Everything is just really uprooted and things are messed up. But besides that, then you start experiencing things out of the ordinary on top of that.
Yeah.
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 We used to have booms, what mountains kind of boom that we know of. And then we started getting this this metal like sheets in the wind. It's like whoa, 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 like that, and uh, sounds of metal being hit.
Mhm.
And our carport, it sounds like our
Yeah,
carport,
yeah.
but it's not our carport.
Yeah, if you imagine wind picking up aluminum carport, just boom. But it
Yeah.
comes from the carport side. It comes from the back of the house where there's no aluminum.
Yeah,
Oh,
Our neighbors are up the hill,
yeah.
and we'll hear that sound coming from the empty yard and
All
hillside.
the time too. Some days
Yeah,
we'll only hear it a
Yeah.
couple times a day.
yeah, that's mostly daytime.
Yeah,
It
mostly
it
daytime.
it almost starts when the sun comes out, so you almost think it's water underground booming, but it's
Or maybe the
sometimes
sun hit
yeah.
the
But sometimes it does come at night.
yeah, and it won't
Yeah.
be the sun doing
Yeah.
that.
And I think the first strange thing that happened was probably towards the springtime of 25. It still took a couple months for the activity really to ramp up, but this was something that had never happened in
100 years
in
almost.
yeah
Yeah, it was
in
100
yeah
years.
in 2 years for us being there. I said, okay, if I
Oh,
tell
yeah.
the rooftop story.
Oh, yeah.
Uh we would be in the bedroom on this side, and on the kitchen side we have a front porch that runs the entire length of the house. Well, from the front corner, it sounded like something sizable scurrying on the roof. Not, I've heard squirrels, I've heard raccoons on a roof. You can hear their paws. This was more like if it was on 4 feet, but taking big steps.
mm,
We heard it scurry across. That happened for like 3 or 4
It
times
still happens.
over a couple weeks.
It's still running on the edge of
Yeah.
the roof.
And it would run halfway across and stop. The odd thing was one time we were in the kitchen and I heard it run within feet because I was standing by the door. I opened the door.
To see.
Well, that was the last time that we heard it that clearly.
okay.
If you want to speculate,
He opened the
we
door just to
yeah
see if he seems
we
to jump off the roof or seen anything.
I would speculate there was something running across that was told you were too close that time.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
And
to be seen. But I've already seen
yeah,
it.
and then about 3 weeks later, we heard one. We were in the bedroom, heard it start at the corner. It ran like a figure eight off to that corner and stopped. Now, even if it was wind under the eaves, it doesn't do circles. The wind would come in and end. I don't know what that was.
I've heard bare feet run around the corner of the house. Bare feet. How could anyone hear bare feet? But they had to have been big and heavy. And it sound just like bare feet running around the corner. And our hill goes down. The house is even with the top of the hill, and then it goes down on the side of the end of the house. And that's what I heard go around the corner of the house and down that hill. But I only heard 3 footsteps, but Mike heard like 5.
Right.
And it was like he was awake and listening.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's like it let him know that he knew he
Yeah.
was listening because
This-
he pounded the last
Yeah.
step.
This was recently. A lot of times,
Just a week
a lot
ago.
of times, Jodi will hear the steps, but if she's listening to something on the phone or TV's going, I don't hear them. Well, actually, this is about 11:40, and I just heard stealthy steps, so I had to really strain. I heard 1, 2, 3, 4 walking away from the house, and the fifth one went boom, and there was a reverberation. And I'm thinking, oh, it hurt. It could tell maybe I was straining to hear it, and it said, I'm going to make you hear this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was concentrating on it.
Yeah.
That's also, it happens a lot. I don't like talking about him at home. I've had, he goes to town a lot. I'm not a shopper, but I will shop for my personal stuff. So anyways, he goes to town a lot, and I've had a lot of stuff happen while he's in town or at a meeting or something. And one day when we have a transfer station, we can't have our trash out. We have to take it to a transfer station. And they don't pick up trash. We don't have garbage trucks and stuff because of bear and I guess Bigfoot now. So, anyways, um, uh, when he took the trash and I was outside and I thought, and I always plant a lot of flowers. because our ground is so rocky, you can't have a garden unless you have a pasture or something, maybe. And I said, I'm just going to stay out here and plant these flowers. And while I was out there planting and he left, I heard him mind speak to me. We're watching you. And I said, and I've been answering these. I've had mind speak several times. And I answered and I said, I'm just planting these flowers and I'm going right back in the house. And left it as that. And I was really nervous, and I shouldn't have been nervous because there was nobody around. And we live at the very end. There's one man that lives down the road, but he's never home and stuff. But there's a whole road that it has hairpins and everything that we don't have traffic. And I say that now, but something happened last week that we had some traffic. But anyways, one time I was cleaning the cars out because we're going to camp out, I think. And I wanted to clean the cars out real good before we loaded them. And it might have been, yeah, it was before the camp out. And I have I had two whoops happen and then kind of a yell. And it was two different ones, like letting me know that I'd been outside long enough. And so I turned on the stereo in the car so that I wouldn't be hearing all that. I said if I start hearing more stuff, we got to move. Or I've set that in my head because I really don't like hearing stuff. The mind speak I can kind of deal with more than hearing stuff. But uh another mind speak. Oh, we were walking down that road I was just telling you about, and I thought there was something up on the ridge, like it's like a ridge before a ridge, and I heard him say to me, "You think you're really smart, don't you?"
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and I'm just walking and not, and I had noticed that there might be something up there. This is after the Bigfoot sighting that I saw, and I said, "No, I don't think I'm really smart. I just know you're there," and just kept walking. And I asked Mike, "Did you hear that?" And he's like, "No, I didn't hear anything." And then I was standing by a tree, and I got real dizzy and stuff, and on the same road. I got real dizzy and stuff, and I was like, man, I really feel bad here. I was hanging onto the tree and stuff, and had no reason for that to happen. And then another mind speak, just like when we got back from the camp out, I was unpacking the suitcase and hanging stuff up and putting stuff in the laundry, and I hear, and I'm looking at Mike. He's on the bed reading, and I'm facing him, and there's a window right behind me, and I hear hey, like that. And I was just, Mike, did you just hear that? He's like, no, I didn't hear that. I go, someone just said hey, and it was real deep voice. There's a porch all the way around that where that window is. And man, I'm trying to, I have this stuff wrote down that
Yeah.
I need to talk about. Can you
Yeah.
think of
Yeah,
anything else?
a couple of months ago, we had something about 9:40 at night. We were in bed, you know, a bit
Oh
early.
my gosh.
If you imagine jumping up in the air, coming down with one foot, there was a slight footfall. The second foot came down and shook the house.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
man.
and it sounded like it
We were
was,
in bed. It was at dark.
yeah, it was well after dark.
Yeah.
It sounded like it was in the yard.
Okay, so hold on. So it was something that came down and hit the ground, but it was so hard that it shook the house.
Yeah.
Hit the ground.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was literally, and it sounded like, say, if you tried to concentrate all your force in your second footfall,
It's like
it was
landed
thump.
on one and then stopped itself on the two.
Okay.
That
My
yeah,
goodness.
we're hearing footfall and jumping, and it sometimes vibrates the house. Sometimes you just hear like the vibration.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we hear stomps. We hear stomps
yeah,
pretty
we hear
regular.
stomps.
Not so hard, but it's definitely something going boom on the ground.
Oh, and before the hurricane, I was sitting on the corner of the bed, and I saw probably at least, I'd say 8 foot, 9 foot squatch run by on the neighbor's property, looking right at me while he's in stride. He's looking right at me in the window and keeps running. And um, that one was like a dark chocolate brown, but it had white around here. When he was looking at me, his face was like a tan colored. Again, it wasn't an Indian face. It looked more animal, but it was running. And in stride, he's running, and I'm sitting on the corner of the bed, and I said, "Wait a minute, Mike," and I said, "Oh, just forget it," because I was so fed up with seeing things. I just said, "Never mind, I'll tell you later." And this was at 4:30 in the afternoon. It was in the spring. I think it was like April or May after the December sighting, and before was in August to September. I saw the dog thing.
Mhm.
And but it was huge and it was running, and I want to tell you about what happened Friday night. This is really wild, and I thought it was a female for some reason. Um Friday night I'd been up all night, and they keep me awake. They really do, because I hear stuff. I have really good hearing and good eyesight. I can see really far away. And I guess I have 1920, whatever that is. And I told Mike, the doctor said I have 1920 because I thought I was seeing things. And anyways, uh, there's a car that goes by and nobody, and it came up
Yeah.
from the pin.
The,
What do you
the,
call them?
the hairpin.
Hairpin.
The one lane mountain road
Yeah.
that
That goes
nobody's,
along the ridge.
nobody has business driving up at 3 in the
No.
morning.
At
Right.
3:30, at 3:38, a car goes by, and I was like, Mike, you heard that car, didn't you?
Yeah, that's what woke me up.
Yeah, I said, you heard that car, didn't you? And that's just weird because we hardly ever have anybody, even in the daytime, the mailman and the guy who lives down the road, which we met him one time and he said, well, I'll see you again probably in about 5 years because we don't see each other. I mean, he really lives out there by the
And-
hairpin.
And it was a distinctive motor.
Yeah.
So we know it's the same
it was
car.
an old clunker like car. Okay, well, at 4:02, the car comes back. And I look out. I set up to see the car because I can see the car because we're up higher than the road, and I can see cars that are coming and going even at night. And it was really dark out. And I set up and I'm looking, leaning on the elbow, looking out the window. Our window's really high up too. And I look out and I thought, those have flashlights. And they just lit up a squat shadow. And then I realized it's that car coming by. I looked right at the clock. It's that car coming by, and in the headlights, it kind of turns, kind of curves there after our house and goes down the other direction. And there is a squatch standing there. And I think it was, now this is just my mind, how it works. It kind of reminded me like it was standing like it was a tree, so they wouldn't see it.
And
But I seen it, and it wasn't a shadow. I thought it was a shadow of a squatch, but it was so big. That's what made me, the headlights on the car and turning the way that the squatch was standing. Uh, it was, it was just like the typical, mahogany. It was mahogany colored, like with the blonde and the black and the brown, like in the hair, and its head tilted forward like this. And I said, that is a squatch. I thought it was the neighbors because they got a thing for flashlights. And I always say, if those kids only knew what they're going to see with those flashlights,
Oh, wow.
if they hadn't already seen it, but
and
they,
and there's only 2 big trees in that field.
oh, it's
And they're
empty.
they're huge. So
And they're not even there. They're
there's
over
no
here
way
near
to
our house,
mistake that for anything
that
else.
big tree. It was like, it's like a meadow right there. And it was like bent over like this. This was last Friday. And what just really got me was the hair. There was, you couldn't tell the shoulders, where the shoulders were or anything, and it was sideways, profile. I could see the profile. You couldn't tell where the shoulders were or anything. There's just so much hair and draping down. And I just about, I don't, this still makes me nervous seeing that. And I was like, if that is what is outside the house, the female, with these kids that she has, it's just, it's
And-
too much to take, really.
And I missed seeing it by a fraction. I was going to get up in case we heard the car come back down. I stayed down and I saw the corner of the headlight as I was sitting up. So I
Oh
missed it.
man, that's the worst. I've been in that situation where you just miss it.
But this squatch was so big, Jeremiah, that it looked like the shadow. You know how your shadow looks bigger?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it was so big. I thought it was a shadow of a little squatch because I've been having a daycare 24/7 over here.
Gotcha. Have you guys? So you're definitely having some wild activity. Has there ever been a time when you've been looking around outside and you've noticed, like, hey, that kind of looks like a track or anything that could have been left behind?
Yes, we
Like 3 times.
we came back from a trip to the West Coast, and was it the long trip?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was after we went to Oregon
Yeah.
and back.
It was the long trip, and we noticed that up our hillside, we're
Just by the bedroom.
we're on a hill that after it rains, we're practically sitting on springs. Our back our house can be a swamp almost.
But it's not.
It's not, but
Drains into the creek.
well, we saw some slides on the hill right next to our bedroom window. I got some pictures. They're not huge, but you can see I did it with that kind of LiDAR picture scanner, and you can see toes.
Yeah, and you can see
Really?
where the grass was
Yeah.
picked up too.
Too.
It must have been heavy
Mhm.
because it moved the
And-
grass,
yeah.
which is there on that hillside.
And I go up with the mower on the hillside, and I know before we left, I didn't make those indentations in the grass.
Yeah,
It was dry,
yeah.
and
Okay.
And I always mow. I would have seen them,
it's 12 inches by 4, so it's not huge, but
but it could be a person, but who's going to be out
Yeah.
there? There's nobody out there.
that's
Right.
that. But and we down the road. This is before Helene. This was probably just early 24. I'd have to look at the date.
What are you
There-
talking about?
The knuckle prints.
Oh, yeah, we had a picture of that too.
There's a print. It's dug out. It comes
It
down.
was 23.
Yeah, it comes down. It's almost a 90-degree angle, and if I put my fingers in it, you can see the length. It matches my hand.
On an embankment. On an embankment. And I was like, Mike, look at that. Doesn't that look like a fingers or something? And then I was looking, I was like, that looks like knuckles. And it looked like the incline, it did this to get up there. And this, I'm talking about a big incline. It's like, what, 15
Yeah.
foot, probably 15 to 17 foot.
We could send you the pictures.
Yeah.
I was actually just going to ask if that would be a possibility. I'd love to see
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, we can send them email, can't we?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely would love to check those out. Has the dog man type creature only shown up the one time?
Yeah, I've only
Wow,
seen it
that's
the
weird.
very first time. And
Okay.
it was beautiful. I want you to know that dog was beautiful. I'm a dog lover. And anyone will tell you, and a horse lover, that dog was beautiful. It even had like eyeliner around its eyes. It looked like a bluegill, the art of the eye, and then it would go down like this, and then looked like it had eyeliner on right here in the corner.
Okay. That's very strange. You have underground water just behind the house, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's our drinking water. We have mountain water.
Okay.
We have
And
a
then
whole
go
thing.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna what kind of rocks do you have in that area? A
Oh,
lot of.
Oh boy, we have a lot of granite.
It's the
Mhm.
Appalachian,
Yeah, we get the granite and the quartz.
yeah, granite
Okay.
and the quartz, and we have some slate looking.
Yeah, the slates.
Yeah, there's
Well,
some that's
about-
more fine, like when they've dug out, like they fixed our road over here left of our house, and you can see like slices of granite in there.
Okay. So yeah, it reminds me of
And
a few
slate.
conversations. Oh yeah.
So,
What I was going to say, it reminds me of a few conversations I've had from people with people from Oregon, where there's one gentleman, Henry Franzoni, and he would always point out, he'd be like, I'd find that areas where there's underground water and a lot of quartz seems to be almost supercharged up with Bigfoot activity in a way. So
Yeah.
when you said that, I was like, oh, that's very interesting. Could be something there.
I want to tell you about something right before the camp out that we went to in April. We came back here to Illinois to move some stuff out of my mom's house. She deceased, but
Mm.
we moved some stuff and we brought it in a U-Haul and we put it under our carport. And it's all containers, and we stacked them up. We didn't do them too high, like two or three at the most. And they all were, it looked really neat compared to us having a carport with no enclosure. And anyways, about a week later, we went out there, maybe not even a week. I don't even think it was a week, but we went out there and there was a piece of pottery sitting on top of one of the totes. And there was nothing out of those totes. We never even opened them. We were exhausted after loading all that stuff out of the trailer and taking the trailer back. And I was like, man, did you see this, Mike? There's a piece of pottery and it's pretty big size. It's probably 5 inches by 3 inches. And it was kind of jagged and stuff. And I was like, I wonder if the Bigfoot put this here. And I got a basket from Illinois and I hung it in a tree, and I'd already had a piece of quartz in there and another rock because I kind of like rocks. And I put that pottery in this hanging basket and it's hanging in a tree. And then 3 or 4 days later, I'm like, we just couldn't figure out where that pottery came from, a piece of pottery. And I was coming down the steps and I seen, sometimes you don't get your plants in early in the wintertime
Mhm.
and your pots will crack. And this pot had cracked all the way around it. And I'd even put a new flower on top of it. And I got to looking, and that pot was the same piece. I went over to that basket and it was a piece of that pot. And there's no way the wind or anyone carried that piece of pottery and put it over there on those totes.
And and I've learned not to mess with the broken pots. If they're broken there, they
Yeah.
might be there for a reason.
Yeah,
But
I use
I guarantee I didn't
this
touch
for
it.
drainage in my pots if I break a pot or something. But
Mhm.
this was all together. It was only missing that piece. And I was like, that's that design on that piece of pottery and that I put in that basket that was on top of those totes. But also, babe, when we got home from Illinois, didn't you go check the side of the house before we even went in the house or anything for footprints?
Yes, yeah.
Because we'd been gone
Yeah.
like 14 days or something. Oh, and while we were in Illinois, this happened. This is crazy. We rented an Airbnb out the lake for our stay, and we actually call this a job, what we've been doing with my mom's old house and stuff. And I was laying in bed and I kept hearing these jugs um, bouncing on the ground. And I like to take our water with us from the house because we go a lot of places. And I don't like to drink well water or anybody's water really.
Right.
And so we take this big orange cooler for just water and we fill it up. Well, we didn't take it that time. And so we were buying these gallon jugs with the handle on them at the top from Dollar General and drinking that water with our coffee and stuff. And I'm laying in bed at this Airbnb and I'm hearing plastic jugs bouncing all over the property right there by the bedroom. And it's got a big picture window that sticks out in sections. And I woke Mike up and I said, did you by any chance take any of those empty water jugs and not put them in the dumpster out there? And he said, no. And I said, well, I keep hearing water jugs bouncing around. So I opened the curtain and we carried flashlights with us, and instead of turning the lights on, I opened the curtain and shined the flashlight out there. And because I just heard like that gravel that they have in flower beds, I heard like something on that gravel. And okay, I just say forget it, and I'm still awake. And the next day or the following day, I'm outside because I smoke. I was outside, and it was so cold there that I couldn't even really smoke outside. I just wasn't smoking, and I went outside, and I was sitting on this lower couch. And when we first got there, it was nice in Illinois, and so I was sitting up higher on this table and chairs, and I sat on that table and chairs when we were getting ready to leave, and I said, "What happened out here?" They had like 8 chairs that was around a pit, and they're plastic, and they were thrown all over the yard. And I said, "Mike, come look at this. When did this happen?" And he's like, "I don't know. I thought you saw
Yeah.
that already because I never said anything." But I was too low to see it because I was
Mhm.
sitting on this like lounge thing. And I had went up the step and got up there where the table and chairs were. And I just couldn't believe my eyes. That, I believe, was a sound that I was hearing of the plastic jugs going all over the place outside. So I don't know. I don't know if Bigfoot is just around me or
I
us or.
I think they are. You didn't tell them about being screamed at.
Oh yeah, years
You were younger.
ago.
Yes, many years ago.
Years ago in 2003, I lived by the Mark Twain Forest
Oh,
in
well,
Sparta.
that's all you have to say. Seriously, like that place is wild.
And
Yeah, and I lived on the county line between Christian and Webster or Douglas. I don't know which one it was, but it's in Sparta.
and
And I used
Yeah.
to jog to work at a restaurant. I had to be there at 4:30 in the morning. What?
well, I was going to say I think they do. I think they do follow us.
Mhm.
We were in southern Illinois, the Shawnee Forest. I went down to
Oh yeah.
the Lusk Creek, and all I thought was this is a really squatchy place because the creek was so beautiful with the bluffs. Well, as I'm walking out, I heard that was all I thought. One thought. As I was walking out, I hear the most perfect knock you could ever hear,
Leaving.
and that's when I had my first uh, voice. What am I
Oh
trying to
yeah.
say?
What?
Mind speak.
Yeah, he had mind speak
I
that time.
I looked at it and I heard it and I said, "Well, thank you for sharing your home with me, this beautiful place." And I basically I get thoughts more than I hear a voice, but it was
Mhm.
basically, well, as long as you honor, as long as you honor the place and the creator. And further up the trail, I actually tried to speak it and make a thought, and it was like I was talking to myself.
Okay.
But it was almost like as I'm leaving a place. I thought that too as I was spreading my dad's ashes. He was a trail maintainer, and he had actually worked on that section of the trail and shelter. And that was about 20 years after he
Before he went there
would have been there.
for his
Oh,
ashes.
And I
wow.
just thought, I wonder if the tree falls were recognition of my father.
Yeah.
That's wild. And that's Shawnee National Forest,
Yeah, where the Garden of Gods is.
Yeah,
which
the
is
tree
a
falls. We're in Tennessee, but the knock was in Shawnee. Yes.
Yeah.
Garden of the Gods. That area is extremely active. I mean, that ton of stuff happens there. And also, where you were, Jody, you were mentioning Mark Twain National
Yeah.
Forest, and I'm sure,
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
knew-
Miguel has so many things out from down there. So you got screamed at in that area?
Yeah. We had moved to a house. This was in 2003 to renovate it. I did a lot of renovating in my past time here.
Mhm.
And I moved to Sparta, Missouri, and my house was sitting on the county line, which is the edge of the Mark Twain Forest. Okay. And I I was I always got up at 3:30 in the morning, and I used to, instead of waking everybody up at home, I would go in the den and turn on the news and get ready at my pool table and stuff. And but before that, I would go to the restroom when I first got up at 3:30, and I went into the restroom and we were redoing the bathroom, and there was just that tack paper on the walls by the sliding glass door, and then the shower was set up where the toilet's at the end, and I sat down on the toilet and something I heard walk 2 steps up on the patio, sliding glass doors, those concrete steps.
Mm.
I heard 2 steps and then a scream in my face. And it was so, and the house is not down to the ground. It had a foundation and stuff. So it was right here on my left side of my face. And I just didn't know what to do. I took off running when I could. I really couldn't do anything, but for the whole scream, I was sitting on the commode and with my pants down, and I took off running with my pants down.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And I went in the bedroom and I said, did not anybody hear this? And they didn't wake up for me to tell them what happened. And then I used to always jog to work to leave the vehicle to take my son to school, my youngest son. And that morning I was like, no, I'm driving. And but every morning I would, not every day, but every morning I did jog to work. It was like maybe a half a mile to maybe 3/4 of a mile to my job. And the cows would be cackling and stuff in the corners, and horses and stuff raising cane. And I just thought I was disturbing them. But I think they were disturbed way before I came along. And
That's wild.
yeah, and that I never knew anything about Bigfoot when that happened. And I had heard one story from a young kid, like 14 years old, and he had seen a Bigfoot walk up to a tree looking at him and pull a, this was in by the Mark Twain Forest, or in the Mark Twain Forest probably, where he lived. And he pulled the branch off the tree, a big branch, and was looking at this kid. And he told me about that. And then also, man, there's just so much has happened before I even knew about Bigfoot. Um, Also, I was sitting in the back of a pickup truck on the wheel well, and I was when they had those flip phones for cell
Mm-hmm.
phone.
Yep.
And I always thought this was a bear that came up and stood on the side of the truck and picked up their trash barrel, which are the ones on wheels, and picked it up and put it down on its head. And its head was so big, and never said anything. I jumped in the cab of the truck. The truck was locked and the little window was open. And I got in that truck, and the neighbors that I was staying with, because my house had burnt down, I told them the next day. They said, yeah, but this gun here is, this pellet gun is for that dog that keeps getting in the trash. And I said, that's no dog. You're going to need a bigger gun.
Oh, wow.
And I thought it was a bear all this time, but I don't think bears can do what I saw do. Pick up a trash can, standing up, pick up a trash can and pull it down on its head like this. So, and that's also the same place the 14-year-old saw that big squatch tear that branch off, looking at him like,
Okay.
you're next. But that happened in 2003. So,
Some my goodness, some wild stuff. I think I agree with you how as we've seen through this show, there are certain people where it doesn't really matter where they are, but they seem to either be open to or to attract the weirdness and the strangeness. That can be Bigfoot related. That can be other related too. As you guys are kind of figuring out in this Airbnb in Illinois, there's some weird stuff going on for you guys. So sometimes people are just kind of magnets for stuff. But I wanted to make sure that I asked you, because your story so far is interesting from what I've got, because you're dealing with this Bigfoot stuff, but it's not like I bought this place because I wanted to get into Bigfoot. Like, no, you just bought the place and you have to deal with it, and it's just part of your life. So, how did you guys get all set up with going to the Tennessee Cryptid Camp out? How does that play into things?
Well, we watch Hellbent,
Oh yeah,
and we're members, and let me see. Well, we watch a lot of
Yeah, you
Bigfoot,
watch Miguel and
Miguel,
Half Inch.
Half Inch Wrench,
yep.
and you. I go to sleep with you.
You you
You're not the only one. I hear that a lot.
you have a very calming voice.
Yeah,
Right.
Some,
Yeah. Thank you.
sometimes the guests not so much, but
yeah, yeah.
but when
That's
it's a
fun.
nice calm show, yeah, it's good to fall asleep to.
Carrie
Yeah.
is my
Thank you.
favorite. Carrie is my favorite on yours, and
Oh
David.
yeah.
David is my favorite on Miguel's, and the
Oh yeah.
Half Inch Wrench crew. I just love them all, and
Yeah.
Hellbent,
So
Jesse and Joe.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
they're just awesome.
so we had a chance, and we thought we were going to be busy, but when Jodi found out that Half Inch Wrench was going to be there, and it was like, oh, we have to go, and luckily there happened to be a couple
I didn't
spots
know.
that opened up.
I didn't know who all was going to be there. I just knew Hellbent was doing it, and I
Yeah.
like to do it. And
Good.
but I just I'm real nervous about stuff, and it's just like I don't know how many more times I can, see and hear and put up with,
Right.
because it takes I guess I'm that special kind of person. I don't know, but I just never imagined anything, or imagined seeing things. I've never seen stuff like this before. Um, it's just it's scary, but yeah, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot more than I ever wanted to, really. Um, but it messes up your life. I don't know how to explain that, but I used to be more outgoing person, and talk to people. I never met a stranger ever. And now it's just like, I need to keep to myself.
Hmm. That's very
Um,
interesting.
yeah, I need to. I just, I don't want, I've always been a little crazy, and I don't mean mental crazy, just crazy.
Sure.
Um, uh, I've done a lot. I've lived a lot of places, but never anything like this. Seeing Squatch, and
I can't imagine that. I can't imagine being in a place where, I mean, I haven't had a visual yet at all, but I can't imagine a place where you've had multiple over years. Is it a regular occurrence where you're seeing things show up that are not expected to be there, kind of like how you were talking about the pottery
pottery.
shard?
Yeah, a lot of times it's rocks.
Mm.
We had a system put in, and I took every rock that came out of the ground and put it by the spigot that we had put in, so that we would have some drainage there if we were running the spigot and stuff. And just the other day I found, which I know was not there, was quartz, a big oak quartz rock sitting in all those rocks that I hand threw up there, picked them up and threw them up to, because I was down the hill a little bit where they did the digging and stuff for the tank to be put in for this mountain water,
Oh yeah.
so that a couple of years we lived off the reservoir until we got the system put in where we could have it contained and brought into the house, and a new pump system and stuff. But I don't know. I've had a couple more things. I know I'm not covering everything. One morning, this is before, no, this is after I saw the Squatch on December 29th of 22. We were going somewhere, and we always used to leave at like 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, and I was needing a cigarette. I didn't have any cigarettes, and I said, "Oh, there's one out in the F-150." And so I was going out there, and everything was frozen, and I I pushed on the door and the key turned and stuff, and I couldn't get in, and I hear mine speak, "You need help?" And I answered back. It was so clear. And it had to only been like 10 feet from me. "You need help?" And I said, "No, I'm going back in the house. I don't need to be doing this right now." And I ran back in the house and I was just like, Mike's like, "Did you get your cigarette?" And no. And I said, "But I'm going to try again." And I went back out there and the door, it was still unlocked because I couldn't get it locked back once I got it unlocked by key, and it's an old F-150, 89, I mean 98. And I go out there and all the ice around the door was melted and the door opened up. like
Really?
nothing. And
Oh man.
it was maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, my favorite mind speak. You have a question?
No, I'm kind of blown away by that. That's weird.
You need
Yeah,
help. And it
go
was
right
in,
ahead.
it
That's a
was in
weird
it.
one.
I
Yeah.
I was hiking in our local state park with my
Mhm.
friends, and I just heard a odd shifted noise off to the side, and I was checking the Avenza maps for some reason. I was looking at a trail, and I acknowledged it. I forget what I said, and I heard the thought very clearly and amusedly, "You silly humans needing your maps and your technology." And it was a very clear, odd thought.
Yeah.
And I could tell it was amused. It wasn't trying to be insulting. It was just like, "You silly humans needing to look at your phone in the woods."
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, that's weird stuff.
Oh.
It's one of the main things I took away from visiting Tennessee was that it is just as strange as the stories that you hear about it, and probably even more strange. It is a wild place. And yeah, you guys being, I mean, really, I don't think it matters if you're in Middle Tennessee or East Tennessee. I mean, each one is pretty weird, as I found out. But guys, it has been a really fun conversation, and I wasn't even aware that this is stuff that's still going on today. I mean, as you
Oh,
said,
yeah.
this is like within the last few weeks, you have stuff going on.
Yeah.
Stuff after the camp out and then Friday.
Yeah. Yes. We had a storm just a week and a half ago.
Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
was one of our rare lightning storms, and Jodi was asleep. It's odd how often we hear things when the other one's asleep.
Hmm.
I
It
hardly
was
sleep, Jeremiah. I'm
It-
awake
yeah.
a lot.
It
Yeah.
was just a good heavy rainstorm, and I thought I heard car tires coming up a road, which is why we're so immune to traffic. And I realized, no, that's not it. It sounded like something, I have no idea. But after I heard it sound on the road, it sounded like it came past our window. Like there was a clunk, and then it swooshed in front. There was a small peal of thunder, and our male small dog, who has a way of barking under the covers. He'll have a very,
When he's scared.
when he's scared, he has a very distinct bark. Well, he barked for almost a minute like that. After I heard that swoosh, I have no idea
Yeah.
what came past our window,
But he heard it.
making the noise, but he heard it. And after that, even if we had a couple of direct lightning strikes,
Gosh.
he would only bark once or twice.
I forgot to tell
So it
him
wasn't
about
like-
the squatch by the window.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
There's
go
this-
right ahead. Yeah.
Okay, well, our TV, we only have one window on the back of our house, and it's in the living room. And the TV is right by it, and I sit on this couch that's horizontally by the window. And and also there's more. There's just more, Jeremiah. That just brings up more. But anyways, I sit up on the couch and I'm just sitting there, and like something in the corner of my eye, I look, and there's the same color squatch that is all I see is he's right by the deck, which is not even 15 foot from where I'm sitting. He's right there, and this is weird. if not anything else was weird. But anyways, he's walking away. He takes 3 steps, this humongous thing, Squatch, and he disappears. And there's nothing. I was thinking he was going to go up the hill, and he's by this time maybe 15 or 20 feet from me, and he disappears, and there's no dissipating. I didn't see it disappear. It just wasn't there anymore.
Oh, wow. That changes everything. I mean, that's a whole different.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. I was
Oof.
waiting for him to go up into the woods right there, about 25 feet from the window. And I waited, or that's where he's walking to, and he took like 3 steps. He was standing by the deck banister, and our deck's only like 10 by 12 or something back there. No, 10 by 20 maybe. Anyways, he was standing there. He just turned around, I guess, because we say they watch TV at our house
Sure. Yeah.
because a lot happens
Yeah.
about the TV. And I see that in the corner of my eye. I turn my head, and he's right there. Big shoulders, the blondish cinnamon color one. And I see his shoulder blades, and they look like lungs instead of shoulder blades. They're just like this. They're huge. And I'm watching take 2 steps, and I know he'd probably taken one already for me to catch it, and he just disappears.
Oh man, that's weird. That makes you wonder, okay, so do you have Bigfoot that are just disappearing, or do you have maybe actual portals in your area too? And that's one of those questions. It's like I don't even know if you can answer. I mean,
Well, I
we-
think we do.
Yeah,
It's a daycare center, because they're not bringing their kids to the
Yeah.
daycare center.
yeah, I suspect the swooshing noise and some of the booms we hear, I suspect portals.
We're
that's a
constantly
solid.
hearing,
Yeah.
we're constantly hearing metal.
Yeah.
Metal, I mean, like a gong almost, but it doesn't sound like the gong. It sounds like a metal, like a gong, like that. And it's loud. And we both look at each other. We quit even saying, "Did you hear that?" Because we just look at each other and yeah. And it's day and night. It's the gonging is more in the daytime.
Yeah.
Than at night. I thought maybe we lived on top of a cave.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Or maybe there's underground work being done, but it doesn't really sound like that goes on in that area.
No, we thought that that's what was happening when we were hearing the booms and stuff.
Yeah.
But these
Yeah.
aren't even booms. They're like metal wave. I say like sheets of in the wind. That it's like whoa, 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 like that.
You guys aren't hearing your voices called out of the woods or anything like that, right?
I
Have you ever
did clean
experienced?
the car out, but I turned on the
Yeah.
stereo. I didn't
Yeah.
hear him call my name. No,
No,
Okay,
nothing
good.
like that. Yeah.
No.
Good.
No mimicking going on.
That's good. That's when it freaks me out a lot. Not that I've had that happen, but just when you hear people like they're out in the woods and they hear something say their name, like "come here." Although I did have something say "come here" to me at the camp
Wow.
out, didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
I
That was weird.
smelled at the camp out. I smelled roadkill in the corner of our cabin,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it went away. It came and went
Oh.
that fast. And plus, I was with Adam down there. You all were in the woods, and I
Mhm.
was with Adam down there. Well, he was like a station, and I heard the dogs. I told Adam, I said, once we tell our dogs to go to bed, they go to bed.
Oh.
Well, what, babe? Go ahead.
Oh, I don't want to. I was just going to say, speaking of smelling,
Smelling.
the BO.
Oh my gosh! See, there's just so much. I wrote that down too. We were in bed. Well, anyways, the dogs
It was the
acted
afternoon.
really strange.
It
at
was the
bathroom,
afternoon.
and it was only one time. But it was early evening. It was not an afternoon. We
Yeah.
were in bed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we go to bed early.
Mhm.
Well, you have to if you can get any sleep. But anyways, I was laying in bed, and I guess I can hear, see, and smell really good.
Really good.
I mean, anyways, I was like, oh my God. And I started smelling my pillows and my blankets and stuff. And I said, Mike, do you smell that? It's just terrible. It smells like BO really bad. And I don't know if it's anything else but BO. And I got to find it. And he's like, oh, yeah, I do smell it.
Yeah, it took a second. I was like,
Yeah.
first I was like, no. And
And
then, oh yeah, there it
it
is.
went on for a while, like minutes of smelling that. And then it went away and it came back.
Yeah, it was, it wasn't even your typical garbage or skunk or death smell.
Oh,
It was like,
gross.
it was like human body odor
Yeah.
that as strong as you can imagine. And it
Yeah.
was just in the air.
And I sleep, I gotta have my windows open at even dead of winter. I have my bedroom window open, but I only open the top and only halfway. I don't open the bottom because of what's been going on, but easily they could reach in and do something if they wanted
Oh,
to.
sure. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I mean, if they're that tall, but this smell was something else. And I'm really particular about stuff like that. I was just like, oh man, you gotta smell that. And I was smelling everything in my room and it was
Yeah.
coming through the window,
Through the window, it's clear.
Gross.
right by the bed.
Wow. Oh, that's wild. That is wild. You guys live in such a wild area. I cannot imagine having to just deal with that day to day.
Well,
I'm so glad that we were able to get this to happen with both of you on here, because I think having you both here really makes for an awesome conversation, to be honest. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure meeting both of you
yes,
out there
same
in
here.
Tennessee. That was cool.
Tennessee camp out was awesome.
That's right. Yeah, the Tennessee cryptid camp out was, it's probably one, man, it was one of those once in a lifetime experiences. It was,
Well, I
it
hope
was
it
just,
happens again.
I hope so
Really.
too. It was lightning in a bottle. I mean, it was really, really cool. It was,
And everybody
fantastic.
there, it was just everybody worked together and it's like we were prepared.
Mhm.
For what, but everybody came prepared and we got plenty of stuff happen. And it was just really nice. And I know there's gonna be another one. So it was
I would
just
assume so.
Randy and all the whole crew, Houston. I don't know all their names. I'm not good with names. I used to be good at a lot of stuff, but anymore. I wanted to tell you that this Bigfoot thing has changed my life.
Mm.
And I know it changed his from having to deal with me because of what is happening. And then he starts, I really felt like nobody, they really will think I'm crazy now. If I wasn't crazy before, I'm really crazy now, seeing stuff, hearing stuff, experiencing stuff. And there's more, Jeremiah. It's like a couple days, there won't be anything happen and I'll get some
Right.
sleep. But then it'll go on for 3 or 4 days, maybe longer, and then there'll be a break.
Do you keep a journal of what happens?
Well, no, but I write a
Maybe
lot and I'm gonna start writing it.
I would recommend, that's advice I got from a good friend. His name is Tobe Johnson out in Oregon or Washington now, who is he's an experiencer author, and he's like, if you've got stuff going on, you need to write it down so you'll forget it in the future, and you can figure out things that are connected by rereading it over. I would recommend any listener to do that, actually, if you're experiencing stuff like Jodi and Michael are. Just keep a journal so you can figure it out. But guys, I think that we will definitely need to keep in touch. It's definitely an active, ongoing thing, and so
Yeah,
definitely feel free to keep in touch. You got my email, and maybe we'll have to do a catch up later or in the future down the road. That would be fun. So
Sounds good.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Awesome.
thank you very much.